Hello everyone, my name's Hayley Strutt and I work in the English department at our school. And today I'm going to tell you a bit about inclusive education, something that is very important to both myself and to our whole school community. So, what is inclusive education? Basically, inclusive education ensures each student's needs are met. Inclusive education values each student as an individual and ensures they are provided with the right tools to reach their full potential. Imagine you were at the supermarket and the things you needed to make dinner were just out of reach. This isn't hard for us short people to imagine. Now think about how frustrating that would be. You can't achieve your goal of making dinner without them, so you're stuck in the same place with limited options. You either need to go out of your way to ask for help, which may not always be possible, or go without. Inclusive educators believe that all children and young people have the right to access education that is responsive to their needs, and that each student's needs are unique. The Australian curriculum is designed with an average student in mind, but as anyone knows, we are all individuals with unique ways of learning. Tomlinson and Allen, 2000, encourage us to ask any parent who they are sure will agree if they differ in their parenting approach to each of their children. The answer is almost always yes, and that is because people have unique strengths and weaknesses that need to be catered to. The standardised learning, which is apparent in the curriculum, may not always suit students with diverse learning needs and disabilities. Going back to the supermarket analogy, a person in a wheelchair could not reach the items needed without assistance. A student with autism may not be able to ask for help to find the items needed, and a student with a trauma background may find the supermarket overwhelming and scary. Inclusive educators preempt the needs and differences of students and design lessons and units which are inclusive to all students, including those impacted by mental health needs, culturally and linguistically diverse students, LGBTIQ+ students, students with a disability, and students with trauma. Lessons are designed to be flexible with a range of approaches to cater to diverse needs. An inclusive supermarket would have all the items on a low shelf so everyone can reach them. They would have minimal noise and lighting to reduce stress. They would have audio or visual instructions available to enable students to find what they need. They would have extended programs for students who find shopping easy. And they would have teachers and teacher aides available for help. The Universal Design for Learning framework was initiated by David Rose, as mentioned in Al Salama 2017, and allows for the design of lessons which aim to be accessible by individuals with a wide difference in abilities. As mentioned in the last slide, these lessons are designed to be flexible to allow for varying abilities in the classroom. This design is preempted at the start when designing the lesson, rather than added on as an afterthought. The UDL framework is linked to John Dewey's inquiry-based learning and Vygotsky's social constructivist learning. Educating inclusively is actually a professional and legal obligation in Australia. This is evidenced in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, the Salamanca Statement, the Melbourne Declaration, and the Alice Springs-Barbantwe Declaration, which includes the rights of all children to an education. Also included are the Disability Standards in Education, the Disability Discrimination Act, and the Australian Professional Standards for Teachers. As teachers, we are professionally, ethically, and morally bound by these documents. In the Australian Professional Standards for Teachers, standout sections include 1.5, differentiate teaching to meet the specific learning needs of students across the full range of abilities. Section 1.6, strategies to support full participation of students with a disability, and 4.1, support student participation. Identify strategies to support inclusive student participation and engagement in classroom activities. When considering various levels of learning, we must also include students who are gifted. It's important for teachers to be able to identify gifted students, so specialised learning plans can be developed to aid them in reaching their full potential. Differentiation, as mentioned in Standard 1.5, provides different pathways to learning, a desirable trait when gifted students are in the classroom. The Department of Education Tasmania recommends schools provide appropriate differentiated learning opportunities and make suitable adjustments for their gifted and highly able students. As teachers, we must also recognise that no single method is best for all students. Gifted students are individuals and learn best in many different ways. They should be matched with the best system possible for them. When done well, differentiation should achieve maximum enjoyment combined with suitable challenges in learning. Previously, gifted students were often taken out of their classrooms for accelerated programs. However, Tomlinson and Allen, 2000, suggest that keeping students in the classroom with their peers is preferable to taking them out for specialised programs. Citing case studies where the students felt alienated by having to leave and the programs appearing to go against the feeling of community in schools, rendering classroom teachers' abilities at differentiation lacking. Students noted feelings of separateness from programs which occurred away from the rest of the class. This is backed up by Meritzi, 2018, who describes students hiding their ability and being faced with a forced choice dilemma, a belief held by some intellectually gifted students that they must choose between academic achievement and peer acceptance. This can result in destructive behaviours and the hiding of their abilities. Students may avoid extending themselves in fear of ridicule from their peers. For the case study described by Tomlinson and Allen, a differentiated approach to learning with gifted students included in the classroom led to positive outcomes and a lifting of performance across all learners. The differentiated model of gifted and talented, DMGT, was developed by Francois Garnier. According to the Catholic Education website, Tasmania, Garnier's model provides the most generally accepted definition of both giftedness and talent in Australia today. Garnier's differentiated model of giftedness and talent, 2008, provides us educators with research-based definitions of giftedness and talent that are directly connected to teaching and learning. According to the DMGT model, gifted students are those whose potential is distinctly above average in one or more of the following areas: intellectual, creative, social, and physical. The DMGT model recognises that giftedness is a broad concept that includes a range of abilities. It also recognises that giftedness must go through a transformative process in order to become a talent. As such, Garnier makes it clear that adequate school support is necessary if students are to develop their gifts and abilities into high achievements. Another model is Renzulli's three-ring model from 1978, which states that giftedness results from a dynamic interaction between three basic clusters of human traits: above average general ability, high levels of creativity, and high levels of task commitment. He argues that the gifted are those who are capable of developing these complex sets of traits and applying them to any area of learning. Renzulli's model draws attention to the developmental nature of behaviours, such as creativity and task commitment. And, like Garnier's DMGT model, it recognises that a range of factors must be in place in order for students with natural abilities to develop their gifts into talents. Levinson, 2018, states that students need challenging to thrive, otherwise a fixed mindset may develop. Providing optimal support for gifted students means teachers must engage with people who can provide specialist expertise, such as support teachers, school psychologists, and other teachers with expertise in gifted education. The Tasmanian Department of Education, 2014, states that many teachers will feel the urge to aim for the middle when designing learning tasks. In this way, they hope to reach the largest number of students in any given lesson or learning sequence. But research has shown that this approach is ineffective. It ignores the needs of advanced students and can leave them unchallenged and feeling bored. So, how as teachers do we help gifted students grow in the classroom? The Tasmanian Department of Education recommends implementing a differentiated classroom learning program, where teachers design tasks based on their own knowledge of their students. This assists both with relationship building and creating a classroom where students are suitably challenged. Differentiated classroom learning recognises that some students require significant personalisation of their learning programs to be fully engaged and challenged. Some students will require adjustments that extend and enrich their learning. The Australian Curriculum website states that teachers can use the Australian curriculum flexibly to meet the individual learning needs of gifted and talented students. Teachers can also accelerate student learning by drawing on content from later levels in the Australian curriculum and/or from local, state and territory teaching and learning materials. Learning plans can be developed using these materials with input from parents, education leaders and teachers, and the students themselves. The key factors at play here are flexibility and student-teacher relationships. If lessons are planned well, with an inclusive mindset and room for change when needed, then students don't have to worry about being singled out, as there is a myriad of choices available to everyone, not just gifted students. Being an inclusive educator means taking the time to get to know your students and developing positive relationships, and then applying this knowledge when designing an inclusive classroom.